Hi everybody, this is Kevin Usher from Avid and welcome to IBC 2019. Here we are at the Avid NEXIS storage demo pod. I'm going to show you a little bit about the Avid NEXIS storage solution, and I'm going to initially focus on the system management of the Avid NEXIS system. So what we're looking at here is the Avid NEXIS management console, and if I just log in to the system, I'm going to walk you through some of the steps in the Avid NEXIS management console. What you see here is the NEXIS dashboard, and what this is showing me here in the left hand corner is the system dashboard. So at a glance we can see the status and condition of the system. We can see who's logged in, how much bandwidth they're using, what sort of reservations that they've been given in terms of bandwidth allocation. We can look at some of the system characteristics, so how many files are on the system, etc., and how much storage is being used. So this is really at a glance. You can mount this in your technical engineering room so that your technicians can be watching and monitoring the system. And this just saves you from having to go through individual NEXIS management pages to find this information. So at a glance, we've just got a system dashboard. You'll also notice we've got a new cloud tab here as well. This is the cloud dashboard. Now, we've introduced at NAB this year a brand new Avid NEXIS Cloud Spaces subscription service from Avid. And what this includes is a series of capacity plans that will allow you to extend the on-premise Avid NEXIS storage into the cloud. Now this is really used for backing up data from the on-premise system into cloud storage. So it's safe and secure, safe uplink, and it's very secure in the cloud. So this allows you to free up useful space on the Avid NEXIS on-premise system. So if you have projects and media sitting on the NEXIS system that haven't been touched or are sitting dormant, you can park them in the cloud temporarily, free up on-premise space, and then you can continue working with new projects. And what we see in this particular dashboard is really just the status display of the cloud storage. So we can look and see how much storage capacity we've used over a 30-day period. We can look at how much bandwidth we've been using, and we can also look at how much data we've downloaded over a 30-day period. So again, it's an at-a-glance view of the cloud spaces. A more detailed view of the information data that we've been using for cloud spaces is available through your when you register and activate your Cloud Spaces account. You can go into your Avid Master account and you get much more information about the on-demand subscription service. So let's take a look at some of the other things with the Avid NEXIS management console. So one of the great things about Avid NEXIS, which is quite different to other storage systems, if we look at the storage and we look at workspaces, what you'll see here is a list of all the storage workspaces we have on this IBC NEXIS system. Now, this particular NEXIS system is actually servicing the whole of the facilities and demo pods that we have here at IBC. So we have a whole list of workspaces here, but you'll see just in these three here, these little icons here, these cloud icons are showing me that I've got cloud spaces, and they're managed through the Avid NEXIS management console. So the great thing about the Cloud Space subscription service is you're not having to go to a separate cloud supplier or cloud provider and have a separate account. We manage the whole subscription service, the cloud storage, from the Avid NEXIS management console. And if I actually just double click on one of these, you'll see that we have a workspace of a certain size that we've already set up. I can resize that cloud workspace just like any normal on-premise storage workspace. So it's really easy for me to actually increase the cloud storage or actually decrease it. And just the same as the on-premise storage workspaces, if I just scroll down here, there's a list of all the user accounts on this particular system, so we can actually use the account management, the access privileges to enable access to cloud spaces or not. So, creating and managing an Avid NEXIS cloud space is just the same as it would be as an on-premise one. But as I say, in the context of what we're using here for cloud storage for NEXIS cloud spaces, it really is there for backing up data into the cloud and freeing up space on the on-premise system. So it's a really nice, easy way to extend your NEXIS storage system and give you some additional capacity to work with. It's not there for editing or production work. It's really there for backup. So creating a cloud space is really simple. It's just like creating a normal workspace here. So if I go into my Nexus console here, and if I just create a workspace name, and I'm going to select the Cloud Spaces storage group, because one of the features of the subscription plan is when we activate it, the Avid subscription service creates a storage group in the cloud. So you, as a Nexus user, you don't have to do anything. All the work is done for you through the activation service. So I can create a cloud space of a particular size. So let's just say that that's 500 gigabytes. I can then add in the user access privileges. So I'm going to use my name here, which is Kevin, and I'm going to give myself read-write access to that cloud space. And then we'll just save it. And you see that it highlights there, I've got a cloud space, it's called Sunday, and it's 500 gigabytes in size. But as I mentioned and showed earlier, we can actually resize this. I can increase or decrease that cloud space size just as I can with a standard on-premise workspace. So it's so easy to use. Enabling cloud spaces is quite simple. You go into your Avid master account, you locate or find your Avid NEXIS storage system, and there will be a little button that says, do you want to enable cloud spaces? And then it walks you through the activation steps. And then you end up with an activation file. And if you go up into the System tab here in the Management interface, you'll see down here we have this Services page. And you can see at the top there, it says Cloud Spaces. Now, in this particular system here, Nexus system we have here at IBC, I beg your pardon, is a cloud space plan, which is 100 terabytes. And so this particular Nexus system has a 100 terabyte cloud space plan. The cloud data center is in Western Europe. We have 4 data centers around the world. We're using East and West Coast USA, 1 in Europe and 1 in Asia. And this is where, when you enable the subscription plan, you get the activation file, and you basically just put the activation file in there and your Nexus system ID, and that's it. That's the activation done. What we do from there is, if I just go back to the Storage tab, and if I look at Storage Groups, you should be able to see there, in this particular example, I have 2 storage groups. I've got the on-premise group, which is just called Storage Group 1, and I've got my Cloud Space storage group. So the Cloud Spaces storage group is created automatically for you. So it's really simple to activate, really simple to use, and I can very simply manage all my on-premise on-premise workspaces and my cloud spaces from the same Nexus interface. In terms of moving data between on-premise and in the cloud, it's very, very simple. For example, you could today, many of our customers are actually using Media Composer to back up their projects and media to local disk drives, for example, or local NAS systems. We can use Media Composer to back media projects up into the cloud very simply. We can use third-party software to do the data movement and the management of projects in the cloud, or we can use our own Avid tools. So we're also adding in, when you have a cloud space subscription plan with your Nexus system, we're automatically replicating all the on-premise system metadata up into cloud space. This means that we have yet another level of redundancy in the Nexus system for all the Nexus metadata. Now, on the on-premise system, even if you don't have cloud spaces, we actually store 3 copies of metadata anyway. So we have, in every engine and the System Director appliance, we have 2 mirrored SSDs for 2 copies of metadata, and we have a 3rd copy on the storage controllers. But with cloud spaces and with this replication service, we automatically copy the system metadata up into the cloud multiple times every day. So you always have a backup copy in the cloud. So again, just quickly looking at the administration of the workspaces, looking at the cloud again, you see here we've got a slightly different layout for the workspace resizing. If we look at a standard on-premise workspace, I can resize these as we've always been able to do. The sort of size, the size of the workspace window here, because it's slightly bigger, this cloud space could potentially be 2 petabytes in size. So we're having to do a little bit of work here in terms of the graphical layout, because I could potentially increase the size of this workspace to 2 petabyte. And to show this whole workspace potentially of 2 petabytes of cloud storage, we're going to have to do a little bit of resizing. So what we have here is a slightly different graphical layout for cloud spaces. As you see, the slider pings back into the center. Whereas with the normal on-premise, we just slide up and down, we can just park it, and it'll just, the actual slider there will stop where you just release, in this case, release the mouse. So we can also go in there and manually just change the capacity. We also have the ability to show the, there's a thing called the capacity tracker. So we can look at the on-premise storage, how much has been allocated, how much is being used, how much is available, and we do the same thing for the cloud. So let's just pop back to the cloud dashboard again. We've added in this is more of a user-friendly sort of windows. We can actually now resize these windows. So if you want to look at more detail at some of the characteristics of the dashboard, you can do that through these windows here. So very, very simple, very easy to use. And then coming back into just looking at the engines for a second on this particular system, you're probably familiar with Nexus already. We have a range of different storage engines in the Nexus system. So we have the Avid NEXIS Pro, which is really our sort of entry-level Nexus systems for smaller configurations, up to 24 users. We can stack up to 4 engines to 160 terabytes. So terrific position for smaller work groups. Anything up to 24, but typically 5 to 10 users is not unusual for Nexus Pro. And then we move into our enterprise storage products, and this is where we get the scalability, the high availability, and we can scale up to hundreds of connected users and many petabytes of storage. But both Nexus Pro and the enterprise configurations are all managed through exactly the same Avid NEXIS management console. So we can actually configure the system depending on the hardware configuration with Avid NEXIS E2 engines, which is a 2-rack unit storage engine with up to 100 terabytes of storage in that engine. We can go to the Nexus E4, which is actually double the capacity, so up to 200 terabytes. Or we can go to the E5 engine. Now this is a really 5-rack unit engine and can support up to 800 terabytes of storage capacity. So all the enterprise engines can be mixed together. So you can start off with an E2 engine, you could add an E5, or you can add an E4. They can all be configured together into one unified system. Now, Avid NEXIS actually will work with most third-party applications. We support Windows, we support Linux, we support CentOS clients and Mac clients. So it's a very versatile architecture. Many of our customers are working with Avid and non-Avid editing systems, as well as third-party management systems and ingest and playout servers and asset management systems, archive systems, and things like that. So it's a very, very flexible architecture. So just finally going back to the interface here, as you look in the center here, we're just actually monitoring the use of bandwidth in a system. So we'll have a little bit of low activity on the system at the moment, but generally speaking, when I have actually 50 odd clients here, they're not all active on the system at the moment. But you can see that actually we're displaying the performance characteristics of the clients when they're reading and writing. So that's the sum up of the Avid NEXIS system. Cloud Spaces is really one of the key announcements here at IBC. We're also have increased the capacity of the Avid NEXIS E2 SSD engine, so we now have a 38 terabyte SSD engine. We've also implemented some other features in the file system which will allow us to actually move workspaces between different storage groups. And we're actually working on a few things at the moment which I think will substantially enhance the management of the system over the course of the next few months. So thank you for giving me the opportunity at IBC 2019 to share with you some of the things that we're showing with Avid NEXIS.